Hello.
Welcome back to
Shut the Smut Up. So on today's episode, this would be episode 5? Episode 5, I believe.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep, so this episode is going to just be something short, sweet, and simple. Last Thursday, which would have been the 29th of February, so this video is going to be a few weeks behind, obviously. So
it's fine.
So on February 29th, me and Carly and Carly's friend Kinsey, we had the opportunity to go down to Salt Lake and meet Victoria Aveyard.
Yes.
She is the author of the Realm Breaker series and then the Red Queen series as well. We went down there to meet her for book 3 of the Realm Breaker series, Fate Breaker.
Yes. I feel like I was a little starstruck.
I would agree because it was my first one. So I was like...
Yeah, I've never been before either. I've only been to like a local... Yeah. She loved Dallas. So we got there and I just think I was like so excited that I like forgot to film us walking in and stuff because I was like didn't know what to expect. But we walked in. It was at like the First Baptist Church. It is a really good thing that Dallas double checked the location because originally on my phone, and we were dying that this was going to happen, it showed us like somewhere out west, like not in the city. Like it was so weird. So it was a good thing you checked because we were driving on the freeway and yeah, we would have went to the wrong church.
We would have, and we actually probably would have been late because we ended up getting to the event right on time, probably about 30 minutes early.
Yeah, which was really smart. And now that we know that, to get a good seat, because I thought we might have had assigned seatings where we paid ahead.
Agreed.
But we didn't. So I am glad because we got, the third row back?
Yeah.
Kind of on the middle aisle. So we got some fairly good video, which was good. But it is hard sometimes when you have people in front of you. Just because you don't want to be rude and like be above or you know what I mean. So we got as good a video as we could, but
yeah. So like I said, this video is going to be kind of sweet and simple with me and Carly talking. We will put some of the video that we took after we get done here, as well as like a couple of pictures, just so you guys can enjoy it. Victoria Aveyard, she was a sweetheart.
Yes. I really liked her. She's got a lot of personality.
She does, and
very beautiful, teeny little lady in person.
Yep, the way that she described things about her book just made it seem...
It was very interesting to get insight on some of the things.
Yeah, it was so much better. I highly suggest going to any kind of event like this.
For sure.
It was just overall fun, and it was great to be able to do it with friends.
We had a lot of fun.
Being our first time doing it. So
now we know to be like done a little earlier or like to go get dinner after. We just like weren't sure what to expect, so we were all super nervous.
Correct.
Like I said, I'm glad that we got there early. We walked through the doors, and got our books like immediately, and just went and found our spots. She signed. We got to have her sign 3 of our books, which was super cool. We'll have another video of where we taught once we finish all 3 of the Realm Breakers. We'll have a video where we talk about everything. I'm in the middle of the 3rd one. And then we can kind of discuss it for the next one. So
yeah, but overall it was super nice. She did have another author with her.
I wish we would have known.
Her name is Trisha.
Trisha something.
But anyways, she's actually from Utah. She is the author of Daughter of the Siren Queen, The Pirate King. She has a couple other books out there.
She was funny.
She was super funny.
I really liked her. She was very humorous. I'm like, dang, they need to have her interview and like talk to all the authors that come to Utah because I thought she did a fantastic job.
Yep.
I was sad that I didn't know she was going to be there because I literally have looked at her books. The spread edges are beautiful, and I really wanted to get them signed by her. So I was like, dang it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that the vibe that she gave to Victoria, they just bounced off of each other really nicely. And it was just overall a great event. Victoria was super sweet. Like she said, Carly, she was just, it was interesting to see because when you see authors, pictures of them, you only get a picture of them, right?
Right. You don't know their
meeting them, you get a different. So, but so we're gonna add some.
Just some of the video footage that we got.
pictures.
Yep.
And we'll end that here and just add those videos. And I hope you guys enjoy it because it was so much fun.
Yes, so. We had a blast. One thing I was super glad. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
One thing I was super glad is where we were positioned when we went to go have her sign our books. We were pretty close to the front of the line, so we barely even waited. So Correct. If you do go to any author events, get there freaking early. You can chat, do stuff, hang out with your friends. But like, I honestly now almost like if we're gonna start doing videos and stuff, I think we show up even a little earlier.
And we totally could.
Yeah, just to kind of get that. But I thought it was a great event. I really enjoyed it.
Great first experience.
Yeah, it was awesome for a first one. Yep. Pretty dang good. It was awesome. All right. Okay. We'll add all of our videos and stuff and some pictures and
just enjoy them.
Yeah. We had fun. So hopefully you have fun watching.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Are you guys ready?
All right.
Our author, main event author tonight is Victoria Aveyard. She's an author and a screenwriter. Born and raised in a small town in western Massachusetts, she has a BFA in writing for film and television from the University of Southern California School of Cinematic Arts. She is the author of the #1 New York Times bestselling and USA Today's bestselling series, Red Queen, and the #1 New York Times bestselling Realmbreaker series. She lives in Los Angeles with her partner and her very cute dog, Amy.
Hi guys. Thank you so much for doing this with me. And so we're sharing the microphone. You can tap me, I'll tap you.
Perfect.
We're gonna be really copacetic over here.
Oh, totally.
So
like we rehearsed it. We could just project quite honestly. Yeah.
I think we're gonna have a lovely conversation. Thank you so much for mentioning the voter registration because I have forgotten the last few nights, but it is right there. And I think that is the best thing we can do is make our voices heard. So, with that in mind, what are we going to talk about?
What did you like to know? Okay, so I just heard a small town. Was it Massachusetts? Okay, how small was your small town? Because I grew up in a small town, and I'm immediately like, we need a small town competition.
Oh, okay. So when I grew up, my town had, depending on which census you're talking about, between 12 and 14,000 people.
I know. Oh, sweet summer child. I grew up in small town Oregon, population 2,000. So I was curious what small town meant. Mine was the place of the loggers, a logging community, very much redneck. Hick. Sure, totally know what that is. Yes. Okay. Okay, how many of you have no idea what that is, though? Just back me up here a little bit. Okay, good. I just didn't want to feel totally stupid, so I really appreciate that. Okay, so for those of you who are maybe fans of Red Queen and aren't familiar with your new series, will you introduce us to it real quick?
Yes. So my new series, which I just finished, which is I went from never finishing any of the fan fictions I wrote to finishing 2 book series. And that's amazing. So I like to describe Realmbreaker as the Lord of the Rings meets Guardians of the Galaxy. It's got the setting of Lord of the Rings and kind of the setup, but the humor of Guardians of the Galaxy, and very much that, well, I don't want to die, so I guess I'll have to save the world so I don't die in the apocalypse vibe. And it basically came out of, after Red Queen, after the kind of support that series had, the luck that I had with it, my publisher asked me, what do you want to write next? And that was a very lucky position to be in. And I kind of thought, well, what was I looking for when I was 14, 15, 16, and very maladjusted, very dorky, and trying to escape into other worlds because I didn't like myself in my world. And I remember I was writing and reading a lot of Lord of the Rings fan fiction. And a lot of other fan fiction, but I won't say that. And the through line, though, was generally that I was bringing female characters into these stories and worlds that I loved, but didn't feel like I could be a part of. So, like, the Fellowship of the Ring, unless you're a straight white guy, you are not in the Fellowship of the Ring. You're barely in Lord of the Rings to begin with. So it's like I loved it so much, but it didn't love me back. And I thought, oh my God, I'm now in a position where a real publisher is like, what do you want to write next? We'll pay you for it. And I'm now a real author. We never feel like real authors.
No, we don't.
Can I actually try and do my love letter to Lord of the Rings and my little bit of a spin, a little standing on the shoulders, a very, very small person standing on the shoulders. But still, can I do that? And that's where Realmbreaker came from, is wanting to tell that kind of story. I hope I did it.
I think she did, yeah. Okay, so going from Red Queen to Realmbreaker, like, that was a big book. Like, how many thousand words are we talking?
First two are.
Okay,
So Realmbreaker and Bladebreaker are 150,000 words. If you look at your books, they look like they're the same size. They made my font smaller.
Of course they did.
In Fatebreaker, it's 30,000 words longer, so do not feel like I stiffed you out of anything. It's longer, and I remember when I opened the book and I put it on the shelf, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Where's my big book trophy? But I'm still really happy with it. So the last one is 180,000 words, which is the same size as Warstorm. So if you want to compare, Warstorm got the normal font, Fatebreaker did not. They look very different, but they are the same length.
Okay, so you have written giant books before, but this one kind of encompasses more POVs and more characters, and you created this entire enormous world. Like, how did you keep all that straight? What are your tricks for world building and doing all that stuff? Because it was a little different than your first series, yeah?
Yeah, there was definitely a bigger and more fleshed out world, I would say. Red Queen, I had the benefit of writing a fantasy dystopia.
Right.
So I was building on something that was already there, even though you don't quite know that until a couple books in, the post-apocalyptic. Realmbreaker, it was from the ground up, and I mean quite literally the ground up. Once I knew what kind of story I wanted to tell and that I wanted to ground it in a teenage girl who's like kind of the chosen one, but not really, I started with a map. And I usually, for intense fantasy, I need a map. And I think that helps the world building feel a little bit more real when we're writing these fantasies. You know, we're doing these extraordinary things. We're telling you stories about magic and dragons and things that are unbelievable. So the number one thing we have to do is try to make you believe in it. So everything outside the extraordinary thing, I think, has to make sense and not bump you out of that suspension of disbelief. So when I was building the world, I was like, okay, this map needs to make sense. It geographically needs to make sense. The rivers have to make sense. When I open a fantasy novel, I check on the map to see if the rivers make sense. And if they don't...
Are you about to bash on Tolkien?
No! His are pretty good.
Are they?
And it's like, and the bar is very low.
Oh,
The bar is, a river starts in a high place and ends in a low place or in a sea. Okay? And you think that's a low bar. For fantasy novels, apparently not. And I kind of
Look at my maps.
I think, you know, unless there's a magical reason, this doesn't make sense to me. So, when you're world building, I love a map because mountains, rivers, wind patterns, these things inform the flow of language, the flow of politics, war, currency. You can figure out where your borders are based on where a mountain range is or a forest or something like that. So you're kind of building on something that's already there. And once I had my landscape and my like sandbox, so to speak, it was so much easier to go in knowing I had all of these places to pull from and things to inform my characters and how they interact with the world. And so it felt almost like an equation, which is crazy because I'm so bad at math. But this for me makes sense of like 2 + 2 = 4, where I'm like, well, she's from here, so she speaks this language, and she's gonna have this, you know, aversion to heat, but she's gonna be really good and cold, and da 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 da. That's those things that kind of build on each other. I like stuff that I don't have to know it all, but I have to know one thing, and then the next thing makes sense logically. But also keeping it all straight.
Yeah.
Scrivener. So if any of you are aspiring writers, you maybe have heard some of
This is Utah. How many of you are aspiring writers?
That's right. You guys are amazing writers. It's such a cool thing. Scrivener is a writing program that I love because it keeps all of your chapters. So if you're working on different POVs, it keeps everything, your chapters, your research, your notes, your ideas. It's all in one window, and you can kind of click through the tabs at the same time, as opposed to using Microsoft Word, which is terrible, and having a million windows open. We unfortunately have to use Microsoft Word when we get to edits, and it's just like stab a little voodoo doll of little dates. But you try. You know how glitchy Microsoft Word is with like a term paper. Imagine writing a 180,000 word fantasy novel with made up words, spell check running, and track changes for your editor. I had to buy a new computer. I was like calling and they're like, it's just it can't run this. I'm like, it can run The Sims, but it can't run Microsoft Word? What about you?
No, I also totally use Scrivener. Your books are so much bigger than mine, and I just can't even conceive of doing that. I guess that's why I asked that question. Thank you.
Clear, concise, and I mean simple in the best way. I'm really trying to have that through line and not
Sure.
go off on my tangents, because writing an immediate, fast-paced story, that's such a challenge.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm gonna just bask in that praise for a second here. Okay, I'm done. So let's talk about your characters. Who's your favorite? Do you have a favorite in this series? Because I would like to know. She would also like to know.
Well, asking an author about their favorite characters, it's kind of like asking a parent to pick a favorite child. The parent will go, oh, no.
They secretly do.
This one's my favorite. I'm the favorite child.
Me too.
That's why we became writers who are constantly looking for validation.
Oh, you just hit that one.
Do you want your teacher's pet sticker? Because I really do. I need my check plus. That's another reason I like Scrivener, because you can get a status update bar. And it turns green when you hit your word count. Nothing like it. What was the question? Favorite character. Guys, you're catching me like a week into the tour. We're gonna have fun tonight. Favorite character, so in Realmbreaker, obviously Coraine is very much both who I would have wanted to be as a teenager and also who I would have wanted to be reading. Someone who I felt like I could see myself in, and she doesn't start from a place of being totally butt-kicking to begin. We very much have some training montage where she earns the right to hang at the end in the final battle, and that was something that was very inspiring to me. I was always thinking, when they're chasing the hobbits and just running for 3 days straight, I would not be able to keep up, and I wanted to see someone who couldn't keep up. So besides her, Sarasa. She is like my id character. You get all your snarkiness out, you get all your realistic commentary and sort of, not criticism, but kind of pointing out, hey, this is a weird thing that's going on. And that's another way we make you believe the story, is you have that one character who's kind of the Greek chorus, who's like, you guys know that plan's bad, and I'm just gonna clean up this mess to begin with. Hey, I know that you guys are the noble heroes, but they saw our faces, so we do need to kill them. Having that character in a fantasy novel, especially one that's playing on all those tropes, I loved it. And then in my queen, besides Mare, similar to Sarasa, I loved writing Evangeline. Once I cracked her POV, oh my god, so much fun. And Maven, but he was really hard. Maven was the hardest to write, so he made me work hard as a writer. And I'm so lazy.
Okay, Miss Mapmaker.
That's not work, that's fun. The work is stopping. The work is writing chapter 1.
Sure. No, I love me a morally ambiguous character. They're my favorites. I live for them.
They feel real.
They do, right? Because not everybody's all good or all bad. The people who kind of waver and do what you aren't going to expect are always super fun.
Writing good characters, like capital G,
Yeah.
is really hard.
Absolutely.
Because it's hard to make them interesting.
Yes.
Heroes are, sorry, not interesting because you know what they're going to do. So you have to find ways to still.
Definitely, yeah. Sorry, I feel bad just, yeah, with the mic while she's talking. No, that's awesome. I would like to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is pirates. You have pirates in your books, and Corinne is the daughter of a pirate, and just doesn't have it out to be a pirate. She wants so bad to be a part of the bad guys, and she just isn't. And so I was just wondering about that dynamic and why you chose that kind of background for her, and why pirates.
Yeah.
Well, going into a fantasy novel, you're thinking about all the tropes and the things you want to honor, but at the same time kind of want to examine, and one of them was like the missing parent. And usually the missing parent is you're not really involved with at all, or they're dead. They're gone out of their control. And I liked having a parent who chose to leave the kid and then seeing how that affects them. And I'm so glad my parents did not read anything into that because they're like obsessed with me. And like I can't call you right now, I'm in an event. But I also really wanted to write a badass mom who was very much like, I had a kid and my life kept going. I think we don't see that a lot. And maybe there's like, if you're on social media, you're seeing a big wave of people pushing against moms whose lives go on after children and are able to be in that space. And I really wanted to have like, her dad was like the hero and he was a total deadbeat. So the mom picked up the slack, but at the same time, she kind of chose herself too. I thought that felt really fun to do. And of course I was like, she's gonna be a lady pirate captain. You know, I was at the beginning brainstorming this book, like, let's kitchen sink this. What are all the cool things I want in this story? And I can just do it. To the point where in Fatebreaker, we see her pop up again, Meliz, and I thought, there's something here.
That's awesome. I love that idea. I think as a society, we definitely tend to feel like women only have value if they're erased, if they're so selfless, so giving of their time and everything that they cease to be their own person. Which we're not saying like people who are stay-at-home moms, we love what you do with such an important job, but being able to choose what you want to do and be your own person is definitely the important thing. So yeah, I love that you said that. Here's a non sequitur. How do you say Dom's full name?
So it's inspired by Scots Gaelic. My mom is Scottish. Yes.
Okay.
So it's Democrion. The DH is
Democrion. Say that one more time.
Democrion.
Who said that? Anyone? Two people.
Fantastic.
Good job.
But again, I was playing with the tropes of fantasy, where you do look at these books and some of the names you look at and you're like, that's a weird name. I don't think that's gonna stick in my brain. So I literally had characters be like, you need a nickname. And I knew that going in. I was like, I'm gonna have that character who's got kind of a name that is gonna be difficult or at least unfamiliar, and the characters are gonna give him a nickname. Because that happens in books where you open it and you're like, there's 14 apostrophes in this guy's name. But we call him Jack.
It's still a fantasy bro.
Exactly. I was like, I want to honor that and poke fun at it and like do it at the same time. And I liked using that sort of Gaelic influence in his character and his culture and the language that I was drawing off of, while also, not entirely doing it from that.
Okay. So while we're on the subject of Dom, is there a reason why you strayed from the terms elf and dwarf? Because I noticed that you were basically writing him as an elf, but you never called him that. So I was just curious, and I hope this is okay to ask. Okay, I was like, I probably should have cleared that with you in advance. I'm like, no. Okay, good. Yeah, I was just wondering that.
So we actually touched on this another night on the tour, asking about things.
Okay, good.
And this is kind of the reason. One, I did want to delineate a little bit. And honestly, I don't think it would have changed much if I had gone calling him an elf versus an elder. I just also wanted to approach it as sort of elven, but not like more, they're aliens trapped in this world, and that's kind of only touched on, but that level there really helped me understand his sort of disconnect from the world and how he's kind of like almost like a Vulcan in Star Trek, where he's very literal, but also like, I don't quite understand the money. What do you mean I'm intimidating? That sort of thing. But also when you say elf or fae or whatever,
There's a connotation with that.
No. The connotation is pointy ears, and I don't like them. And I don't like tails. And when I read Quill Prince, I pretended Carden didn't have a tail. And I know Holly, and Holly has pointy ears. So I apologize in advance, but I told Holly, like, dude, the tail. And she's like, the tail is hot. Look, the tail is hot.
The tail is hot.
So you know what I mean? Sometimes we do pick and choose in our books, and there are things that you read in a fantasy novel that's like, this character had this color hair, and you're like, no, they don't, and you just keep it moving. And that's okay. It's part of your experience of the book. And that's, someone asked me the other night, why didn't you have a pronunciation guide in your books? And I thought, well, I didn't want to shove people into certain pronunciations with certain things, because that's going to interfere with how smoothly you read the story. Because even if you're not pronouncing it correctly, or at least correctly to me, you're pronouncing it in a way that makes sense to you, and you're going to keep reading faster. And everything we do in these stories is to make you read faster, to make you ingest the world faster, make you flip the page faster. So I never wanted to put that kind of roadblock where you're looking at the and going, and making yourself practice it so you get it right. I'm okay with you smoothing it out in whatever way you need to. My dad, when he read Song of Ice and Fire, he goes, man, that Robert Bartholomew, he's got to look out for himself. I'm like, do you mean Baratheon? That breaker named Bautic, who speaks only in rhymes the entire book series. And I was about halfway through her bits of Realmbreaker where I was like, this was stupid choice on my part. I had Rhyming Dictionary open right next to thesaurus.com.
Yes.
I was like writing her dialogue in my notes so I knew I could have it later, and then I was like, it has to be kind of a prophecy, blah, 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 blah. It's not fun, but it's kind of fun, and then sometimes you're writing it like, this is like worse than your 6th grade poetry class. You're like, oh, I'm rhyming these words, and it's so obvious of a rhyme, but
we love it.
Yes,
Is
and
the answer.
again, another thing that the characters can be like, this is driving me nuts. I can't listen to her keep doing this. And I'm like, yeah, same.
Well, I love her. If it's any consolation, I love her. Okay, another thing I asked, sorry, I'm asking questions like an author. In a bit, it's going to be your turn, and you can ask her questions as a reader. So be thinking if there's anything you want to ask Victoria. A lot of your characters are like not YA age. You've got some older POV characters. And I want to know, why did you do that? And tell me your thought process behind all that.
So Realmbreaker, when I first told it or like pitched it and said I want to do this to my publisher, I said I want it to be crossover.
Okay.
So that means YA and adult. As to the best of my ability, I always aim to be a 4-quadrant writer, which is basically means you're writing for every audience. And in the entertainment industry, they divide audiences into 4 quadrants: old men, old women, young women. I want to be writing.
Which one are we? Wrong question to ask.
I'm using old in the best way.
Of course.
Experienced, respected, seasoned. But anyway, that's what I'm going for. I want my books to be read by everyone, so that's why I like also saying like my books are PG-13, because that's the biggest audience. And those are the stories I love the most, the ones that we can all kind of enjoy together. I love that experience of being in a movie theater on opening night and it's crowded and you're all like screaming and cheering or gasping at the same time. I love that. And the same with a book. Like when you find a book you can talk to someone about. I get people in my lines where like the daughter has the book and the dad kind of settles on and is like, you know, I liked this book too. And I think, I did it. But yeah, with Realmbreaker, the original goal was crossover. Crossover doesn't really have its own specific genre, and you kind of have to pick where on the shelf it's going to be. In the UK, my books are shelved adult, or these books are.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe down the line, I've been getting a lot more fantasy fans or adult fantasy fans who are coming in thinking like, I thought this was just YA, and it's like, what's wrong with YA?
Right.
I think the pace is the thing that makes YA so wonderful.
Yes, definitely.
And I think that's why Romantasy is having such a moment, because Romantasy has YA pace.
Yes, it does.
And so people get confused when they're like, oh, I want this book, but like a YA. They're not asking for it to have young characters.
No.
They're asking for it to have that propulsive motion that our books have. Yeah. So intention was always crossover. I love when I get crossover audiences. It's shelved different depending on what country you're in. But I did also want to play on that, like, what do you mean the teenagers are saving the world? Where are the capable people?
You're welcome.
So this book, the thing with the series, you're always thinking about escalation. You never want the next book in the series to be
Less exciting.
yes, less exciting, lower in stakes, lower in tension, lower in like the action sequence and proposal, which I've never done before.
Oh, they're fantastic.
I know, I'm actually really enjoying it. It's less intimidating than I
Yeah.
thought. And it will potentially probably be my adult debut if we're able to sell it. And I still haven't nailed down like genre-wise how I'm exactly gonna say it's kind of like speculative historical fiction. So it's in our world, set through different historical periods.
Historical fantasy?
No.
Love that. Okay.
It's real, like World War II's in it.
Okay.
And I have also realized, like, and I've learned this from social media, because I didn't know I was not in that world.
Sure.
But I've learned that I cannot call it a romance, because romances must have a happy ending.
Everybody just went, oh.
But to be fair, I don't know what a happy ending is to you. Okay? You could be like, oh, that was a really satisfying story. Happy ending for me. Oh, they're dead. I'm so sorry. But you had a great time. I fulfilled my promise.
I'm sure it'll sell, Victoria.
We're here in a church.
Well, that's awesome. Congrats on a new thing, and I hope it goes very well.
And then maybe
Something new after that, huh? Maybe coming back to a little something old and doing a little something. Yeah. Okay.
I will say, when I finished Red Queen and Broken Throne, I was like, I can get no more juice out of this right now. I'm done. And I finished this, and I was like, there's more juice.
Okay, awesome. Let's take some. Wow. Yes, sir, right here.
So Sarasa and Dom, like, I haven't read this book yet, but there's so much, like, you know, pull and tug from them. I want more. So are we going to see any more in this book, or is that possibly what you're wanting to go back into?
Yes. Okay. Well, so many people are like, oh, there's no romance in these books. And I'm like, you wait.
It's coming.
I'm a slow burner girl. As much as I say, like, oh, yeah, it's not very good at romance, I am a slow burner girl. And I love attention and I love figuring. That's my thing. As far as those two, I can't say much. I could say, well, because the way the second one ended,
Yeah.
there's a lot. I'm thinking of a lot, but I really do.
Stuff happens. Or official statement.
It's like there's too much banter, and I was like, you don't know what you're talking
You don't
about.
understand. I agree with that. Okay, other.
Are you ready?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's making me nervous.
I know.
I was going to say she's got.
I got it. Yeah. It makes it easier. You're busy.
You're actually my first author signing that I've been to. Really? And the Red Queen was what got me back into fantasy reading. So I'm like a huge
I love that. I tricked you into fantasy. I'm going to trick you into going to more book events.
That's fine. I will have.
King's Anchorage does a lot of awesome.
I'm going to another one in March.
Who are you going to see?
Scarlet St. Clair.
Amazing. The tours are all starting back up again.
Yeah. Salt Lake doesn't get a lot, so I'm super excited. And where you were
Which
the
is
first
crazy
one, I was
because you
like,
guys have a really great book turn. I've always had good that's here. I just did.
You should get on my mailing list. We get a lot.
Okay, cool.
Half the time they don't even work at all.
I just did
And they
St.
just
Louis
don't
and
last
the turnout was
long, so.
great. And we never get off. It's like, God bless you.
Yeah, it was great because I got, these are my two friends and they
Hello.
introduced them to your book.
Oh,
so.
thank you.
When it's you.